Hey, welcome back to another episode of Just Real Quick. I'm your host, Jefferson Rogers. In the studio, I got my two rock star co-hosts, Jeffrey Fieldstad, Mr. Brandon Neal. Today, we're going to talk to you about some strategies and some insights when it comes to sales and how to close more deals, which we all want to do, right? And the topic just happens to be today on emotional intelligence. And in case you hadn't heard, EQ stands for emotional quotient.
I learned something new today.
I just found that out too.
I don't know what it means, but it sounds good.
Sounds good. Sounds relevant for sales also, because I know that some of the best salespeople are the best at creating trust, rapport, and building a relationship in a very short period of time. And I imagine some of that comes from being emotionally in tune with that other person that they're sitting across from.
Yeah, I guess you can call that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think understanding. Yeah, I mean, I can understand how somebody calls that emotional intelligence, understanding somebody's body language, the way they're talking, the things that maybe cause objections later on.
Things that are important to them.
Yeah.
Help them solve their problems instead of, I know a lot of great salespeople that are also just information salespeople.
Yeah.
Not as much in tune with the emotional side, but they're still effective. And if they could tap into some of that emotional connection and understand and listen intentionally and gather information instead of just like pounding information down their throat, I think they would be even more effective.
Yeah. I mean, no doubt about it. I think there's all these philosophies. But then the question is, would they be more effective? Because is that kind of person using what makes them really confident, which is information and maybe features of products, and so that's what makes them sell. And they're super confident in it, so somebody feels that confidence, and they purchase because of it.
Yeah, I think there is that kind of bottles you a little bit. Because if you're just information selling, there are certain personality types and buyer types that they're just like, that's enough information. They may not be saying it, but I'm one of those. Like, you share just a bunch of information with me, I'm like, it's just going over my head now, man.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And it's not even that it's going over my head. It's just like I almost feel like if somebody is that kind of person where they're trying to feed all this information, it's like, why do you think I need that much information to make a decision?
Mm-hmm.
Information overload.
Yeah.
I just need the strategic, thought out benefits that are going to solve my problem.
Yeah. You got to ask the questions to find the problems. Then you got to help them understand how this solves their problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not all about the information. For me, when I was at the kitchen table, I shared the basics, like the same information every time. It was the bare minimum when it came to information. And I knew the rest was relying on the value that I brought about the problems I was going to solve, the pain points that this was going to fix, and that connection and the trust that they built with me in a very short period of time.
Yes, actually it reminds me of an exact situation that I had talked to Brandon about in the past. You know, in financial services, we'd explain this concept called the Rule of 72, right?
Yeah.
And we would have it in a presentation across the kitchen table, you know, and show the customer if you invested $10,000 at 3% over this many years, you'd have $10,000. If you invested the same, you know, or $40,000, you invested the same $10,000 at 6%, you'd have $160. And if you invested the same $10,000 and you got 12%, what do you think it'd be? You know, and everybody would be like, oh, if it went from 40 to 160, then it'd be like 320 or 640. You'd be like, but it's not. It's 2.5 million, you know. And I remember I'd taken it out of our kitchen table presentation because I had realized that nobody really gave a shit about the Rule of 72. In fact, you could explain it to them with excitement and energy and enthusiasm, and then you come back next week and ask them if they could tell you what the Rule of 72 is, and they couldn't tell you. It's not why they did business. It didn't make an impact at all. We were just showing them a bunch of bullshit, to be honest with you, because we were excited about it because we thought it was cool. But actually, after doing that for a period of time, I realized it didn't actually make people, or it didn't help people make an informed decision. It wasn't the reason people were doing business with us.
Yeah.
The reason people were doing business with us is because they wanted to achieve their financial goals. They wanted to save more money for retirement, put more money in their kids' education, and know, is this going to work? If I put my money here, does it work? I don't care how it works. Is it going to work?
Brandon, if you were to ask, and that's because it's just information, but I'm curious, if you were to ask 100 of your clients, what was the main reason you decided to move forward with me, especially if you had already met with somebody else? Because I know I had met with other insurance agents, and when I had met with Primerica, there was a couple of things that I remember still to this day that I had an emotional connection with that were important to me, that whether or not they realized it or not, they had hit some of those triggers, and I was like, boom, that's the reason.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're meeting with somebody, you can feel when you're like in that zone and you are connecting with them. And I think, first of all, for me, what I would always do before I would go into an appointment, and as I would tell myself, okay, talk to these people or get to know these people and care about them as if they're your parents or your brother or your sister. So before I ever even went into the home, that was my mindset. And then I found out that a great presentation, and I learned this from great mentors of mine. One of them was a guy named Hector Lamarck. And he said a great presentation is a question-oriented presentation because you really can't find out what's important to people unless you ask, like you said earlier, Jefferson, great questions.
Yep.
Right? And by asking those questions, hey, Jefferson and Chandel, it's a pleasure to meet with you here tonight. And I might tell you real briefly why I'm here and what my hopes and desires are. And I might say, hey, like we're doing, windows, and hey, I know we set up an appointment here to have you potentially be an advertising home for us. We noticed you have the original windows still on your home. Tell me, what do you notice currently about your windows? What are some of the pain points that you see or that you recognize? Because I want to find out, are there really issues that you see? Because that's what's I'm gonna start to connect with, right? It might be security issues. You have kids, you have children. How important is it to make sure your children are protected and safe? How about saving money on your utility cost? You notice any rooms in your home that are extra hot or extra cold, and that money's just flying out the window? Is that important to you? Is that something that's important to you? And then maybe relate to them. Hey, I understand exactly how that feels. I've had the same type of situation in my life, or I helped a customer just last week, and this was their situation. And you start to build that rapport, and you find out what's really, truly important to them. And then those are the things that you really focus on. Because if you get into too much information overload, a confused customer always says no.
Yep.
So most of the time, less is more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing when it comes to sales, because a lot of times people, especially information salespeople that are giving information, is like, oh, how's that sound? How's that sound? Well, if you need something else, I got this and that and this and that. And then it creates a confused mind. Versus if you do a good job of asking questions, because it also reminds me of something that Tom Hopkins said, where if I say it, it's a lie. If they say it, it's true. And so if I can get them to say it, it's like that's, to them, it's gospel, right? They're the ones that said they have this problem. And then I've always looked at it, if I'm going to go sell a product or a service, I'm sitting in front of the customer to provide a solution to a problem they have. And if I can't provide a solution, well, I'm just sitting in front of the wrong people. And so at that point, I'm going to pivot to who can I get referred to, who can I go see, who can you send me to the right person, so they know I'm not just there to sell a product or a service, but I'm actually there to solve a problem with my product or my service.
Yeah. And under our circumstances, there's been a sequence of events that has led us to their kitchen table that not very often was because of any other reason besides they need what we're offering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And if you're getting to that point, man, you got to start questioning what the hell you're doing there.
Yeah.
Because you should be constantly asking those questions and seeking how you can offer value here. Educate, offer value, point out their pain points, ask them what their pain points are. For me, every time I stepped into an appointment, I knew that this was right for them.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything in my power to make it make sense.
Yep.
And sometimes there was things out of my control that,
sure,
whether it was financing or, most of the time it was just whether they could afford it or not, because otherwise I knew it made sense every single time. Otherwise I wouldn't have been there.
Yeah. How good does it feel when you walk out of the home knowing that they feel really good and they're actually really excited about what you did?
Yep.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge to get people there because it's not something maybe they were thinking about on the top of their mind before you walked in their home. And our job is to help identify, hey, these are issues, these are urgent issues, and there's an opportunity for you to do this urgently. But, Jefferson, Shandell, listen, I also want to make sure when I leave your home, you're excited about this. You don't feel pressured into it. I want you to be excited about getting these new windows on your home. I want you to feel like you're getting a great deal. And so if you're not there right now, would you mind just telling me, or maybe you're like, we're just not feeling it. Jefferson, Shandell, what exactly is it that I can show you to help you be at peace with this decision? Not just be at peace, but also be excited about it. Is there something you're missing? What am I missing? Because it appears to me everything we've covered, we're solving all the pain points. It's affordable. We've made all that happen. What else is it that we're maybe missing?
Yeah. There's something that made me think about what you just said is there's also this special dynamic in business when you're truly there for the right reasons, that whether or not you had what it took and were able to build that value to get the sale, you left things in a good place and planted seeds and educated them and made them aware of some new pain points that they weren't aware of before, because maybe this is the first time. Like, we just knocked on their door today, never thought about this before. They just moved here from Atlanta. This has happened. They'd never thought about it before. I just heard the other day, I haven't been on an effing kitchen table in 5 years. And I just had a guy come in the other day and said, do you remember this guy? He remembers meeting with you back in 2018, and he didn't end up buying windows, but he's been thinking about it ever since.
It's awesome.
And he's lived in the same house ever since. And we knocked on his house probably 50 freaking times since then. But I left things in a good enough place, planted seeds, educated the guy, that 5 years later, he was finally ready. And you were just talking about this yesterday, about programming.
Yep.
JKR Windows is in the business of creating our own economy around replacement windows. And sometimes it doesn't mean you're going to be able to slam dunk this deal right now. Mm-hmm. It may be that you're planting seeds with this person and leaving a good impression and educating and making them aware of some pain points that they weren't aware of before that may lead to a sale next year or 2 years. Yeah. Or in this case, it was 5 years later. I was like, yes, I do remember that guy. It's over in Bloomington, isn't it? Yeah. Holy cow, amazing. I can't believe that.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of times people know that they have a problem, but they don't know Windows is the solution. So sometimes you're presenting that as the solution, and, they're like, not really. And then you leave, and then every time they notice a problem, and then it's like they start reinforcing it. Like, oh, I saw that problem. Yeah, I can't sit in front of that window because it's too hot. Or, dang, every time I walk in front of this or into this room and I open up the door, this is the one hot room in the house. Those damn windows. And then maybe it just takes them that long to say, you know what, enough's enough. Or
I think that happens more often than not.
Yeah.
Seeds need to be planted. Then, like you say, they start noticing it. Just like when you have a car you want to buy and you never notice any on the road until you go buy it, and then you notice a lot of other people have the same car. Same thing happens in these situations, and then down the road, when that's why it takes 7, 8, 9 touches a lot of the time for somebody to say, you know what, I'm ready.
Yeah.
That's why you can't get discouraged when someone's telling you no, because no usually doesn't mean no. It just means not yet.
It's also why you treat someone good too. They might even slam the door in your face. They might give you some choice words, and you just still treat them good. And then, even if it is 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times down the road, even if they're not the ones that buy from you, but we sell the neighbors, and then maybe years later they go, oh, I saw that go good, because that has happened how many times? I mean, we just had somebody call in and say, hey, you just installed my neighbors. Those guys have knocked on my doors so many times, but you guys just installed the neighbors. I saw how they look. They've always treated me good. I've always said no, but I think I'm ready to go now. And they called us after that. It's awesome.
I love that.
That's how it's supposed to go.
Exactly.
And it happens. It doesn't happen from trying to force feed something that's not the right fit for people. Mm-hmm. If I ended up on their kitchen table, I know it's right. Mm-hmm. But there is a whole different philosophy out there in other sales industries where they are literally, their training, their philosophies are about doing whatever it takes, whether it's right or not, to get the sale.
Yeah. That's not how you build a reputation, though. That's not how you build a long-term
not a good reputation
business model. Exactly.
You'll build a reputation a whole lot faster than the alternative.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only kind of reputation you should want to build, right, is a good one. one where they know your pros, treat people good, regardless of whether or not somebody said yes or no. And so, yeah, I think that's the power of follow-up, follow-through. I also think it's another reason why people that are in neighborhoods, a lot of times they'll go, I want to go knock where somebody else hasn't knocked before. And I'm always challenging this. Like, no, I want to go back next week and knock the same doors that somebody else has already been down 3 times, because those are the ones that the idea is not fresh. It's not a new idea. And when they answer the door and they give you 2 minutes to listen to what you have to say, then odds are that person has already thought about it. They open the door, they listen to you. There's a much higher odd in getting an appointment with that person. And then when they say yes, closing that deal, than someone who just says, yes, I'll listen right now, go set an appointment right this second.
Yeah, for the first time.
Yeah.
Fresh in their mind.
Yeah, I noticed this dust in my windowsills. Oh, actually, I did notice some fading in my couch. Then you knock the very next week. You know what? I should actually meet with you guys.
Yes.
Yep.
They'll start noticing stuff for the first time. But they won't if you were such in a hurry to just get the appointment and get the sale that you forgot to plant some seeds and educate and bring value.
Yeah.
And like whether or not you realize it, they're picking up on your sales breath.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're there with true intentions. They're also picking up on that. And by the next time you come around, like, yeah, you guys got the purple logo? Yeah, I remember you guys.
Well, it's awesome when you actually have a good solution for somebody. So if it is like someone's couch fading and, they got a $10,000 couch and all of a sudden they realize, like, yeah, I paid a lot of money for that couch. I mean, it might cost me, $20,000 to replace my windows, but I paid $10,000 for that couch and other thing's ruined after 3 years. I got to buy another one. It don't take very many times of that happening before they start going, maybe Windows is the right thing. But then you're excited about providing a good solution for somebody, even if it's something as small as a faded couch. But what else is it doing? Where else in the home? How often is that AC unit running during when it's 115 degrees outside and it never stops and it can never keep up and it never turns off? And then, you start talking about putting new windows in the house and maybe your HVAC unit turns off and you actually get some peace and quiet once in a while.
Or we go hit your neighborhood this week because you got a shooter over there right now because you live in the hood. You're moving to the hood.
Strong
and they
windows.
need some security. Yeah.
The next strongest glass to bulletproof glass.
Exactly.
So I don't have to worry about someone climbing through my windows.
Exactly.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
You got the security locks on ours.
Yeah.
1,100 pounds of pressure.
There you go.
They're not getting in that house.
There you go.
See?
So now what about this? My son comes home the other day and he asked me, he's like, Dad, it was the very last door of the day. I was stoked. I was like, yes, usually last door is the best. I'm going to go get a set. And instead he got met with this guy that was just having a bad day, and he took it out on my son. And he asked me, what can I say when somebody says this, this, and this, and they're treating me like that? And I said, well, what do you think you could have said to the guy? You think you could have said anything that would have changed the way that guy behaved towards you? And the answer is no. And the reality is, early on in sales, like, we think that we've got an opportunity with everybody. And we want every single time we talk to somebody at the door for it to work out. But the reality of the situation is you're just not going to be able to get through it to everybody.
Right.
And he probably didn't handle it the best because he's I've taught him a couple of things that maybe aren't the best when it comes to, like, standing your ground and being firm and direct. But sometimes there's those types of things, you're not going to be able to get through that guy.
No.
There is no, like, building rapport and trust and talking about how cool the guy's truck is that's going to get him to open up to you. Yeah. So the answer was that you couldn't have said anything to that guy. The best thing that you could have done was say, I hope you have a better day. Sorry, I was just stopping by. There's a lot of neighbors that see a lot of value in what we're doing. Sorry, it may not be a good fit right now, but maybe we'll be able to help you in the future.
Mm-hmm. So I think we should transition to this a little bit and talk about how you get good at this stuff.
How you get good at
all this emotional.
So I had a joke. Brand's talking about emotional and transition.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
wondering where this is going.
Well, I just think that because we've all had a lot of experience, and that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But how do you get good at it? And really, it's just by getting a ton of experience. And I think there's definitely a lot. You can listen to audios, you can read books, but I don't think there's anything that can replace getting in front of people and meeting with them. Because as you said earlier at the very beginning, you've got to have your knowledge down and be able to know the answers so well that it's reflexive. So you don't have to think about it. Intuitive. So you don't have to think about it. Don't think, just do, because you've done so many repetitions. And I think what we do at JKR to help people get more repetitions, one way is to go personally do it. But where I think you can really level up is when you're responsible to work with and train other people. Because then you're paying attention to teaching somebody new, and you're working with the customer. And that's another level that a lot of people are afraid to jump into. But I think that's the edge that makes the difference between a company that's really going to grow big, like we're doing, versus a company that just stays stagnant. It's just mostly just sales guys getting more sales, get more sales. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're right. I think when it comes to somebody putting in the reps to get good at something, that's a must, but you have to do it for a reason. It reminds me of the guy who goes to the driving range to hit a golf ball, and he's slicing the ball, so he just changes his stance so he hits it the other direction so it'll go straight. He didn't actually improve his game. He just got really good at doing it wrong.
Yep.
And he didn't have a desire to actually learn to hit the ball right. He just adjusted the wrong thing so it would go the right direction. And
practice doesn't make perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? So you have to have the desire to actually care enough to want to get good. So, if it's you got to hit 100 doors a day. Well, that really doesn't matter if nobody answers. So then it comes down to conversations. Well, how many conversations do you have? Well, that really doesn't matter either unless you have a goal to set a certain amount of appointments.
Or if you're not any good. If you're not any good, if you haven't practiced your craft, you can talk to as many people as you want. Nothing's going to happen.
Well, yeah. Well, and then, then you could say, well, you do have to talk to a lot of people to get good at your craft. But I think it also comes down with just to the desire to say, not only am I going to do it because someone says I need to, but I want to do it and then focus on what do I got to do to get better at it the next time. And over and over. And I think that's where training somebody comes into play, because then
you don't want to screw up their life.
Yeah. But also, hopefully you were trained by somebody who you could call as a coach, and something happens, you didn't get the appointment, you had a conversation, you feel like, man, I should have said that, and you're calling somebody and saying, hey, here's what happened, here's what they said, here's what I said, what do you think I could have done better? Oh, well, here's how you can overcome that objection, or they're just putting up a smoke screen, and here's really probably what was the issue. Oh, here's how I can overcome that. And then the next time you get it, then you can overcome it, and you go, oh, that's what happened. So now you have some experience. And then when you have experience, then you can start teaching and training people. So I think it starts with being willing to do the work. There's a lot of people willing to do the work that don't decide to become great. So you have to be willing to do the work. Then you have to be willing to put in the work on the fundamentals to become the best at it. And then I think that's the next level is, okay, how do I simplify this so I can teach it to other people, so I know now that when I'm hearing myself communicate my skills and my knowledge to somebody else, is it coming out right? Is it coming out in a format that somebody else can hear what I'm saying, and then they can go duplicate it, and they also can have success from it? So, yeah, I think a lot of people it takes a lot of work to master your craft. It takes even more work to simplify it to be able to teach somebody to do it.
Well, how many times have you both left a house, perfect client, they qualified, they needed what we do, everything was just good, and you didn't close it.
Mm-hmm.
And you leave that appointment, and then what do? What I would always do is I'd go, man, I know I could have closed that deal, and because I didn't close, they lost,
mm-hmm.
the company lost, and I lost because I didn't close the deal. So that's a good opportunity to go, okay, man, what do I need to dial in to help them move forward so everybody wins, right? Because if they moved forward with me, they would have won. Company would have won. I would have won. We would have all won, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't know how many times this happened to you guys, but I'm sure a bunch.
Well, it's happened a lot.
1,000.
Yeah.
And the difference between a pro and an amateur is an amateur walks out of that appointment and blames the customer. They don't take responsibility for it. It never even crossed their mind one time for even a second that it was their responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
They're just on to the next one. The coordinator suffered. Company didn't make any money. That customer lost out, and it was everybody else's fault. But a pro walks out like that.
Yeah. You don't want to miss one sell. You don't want to miss one opportunity to hire a new person. You don't want to miss one, never. Like, if you miss it, you're like, I missed it.
Well, I also think there's a lot of times I did that when I did close, and I'm like, I still could have done this, and this better.
Right.
I still could have presented better. I could have saved time by maybe I didn't need to say that, or maybe I should have said this. And, I think it doesn't matter whether it was a successful appointment because you closed or it was unsuccessful. I think there's still things that we should always leave an appointment saying, what can I do to get better? And I think that is the difference between not just pros, but the greats. You look at, I think athletics is the perfect example for this. You look at guys who have reached the pinnacle of their careers, and what made them reach the pinnacle a lot of times wasn't this like crazy amount of talent. In fact, I think the most talented guys weren't ever the hardest working on the fundamentals, so we actually didn't ever know who they were. But there was these sickening, like these obsessive dudes that worked to the pinnacle of their career because they were obsessed about becoming the best at the small things, the things that everybody said there's no way that small thing can make that big of a difference. And those that were the greats said, no, it's this small thing that leads to the next step that leads to the next step. And if I do that 1,000 times, there's no way you can ever catch up to me because you think this small little incremental difference doesn't matter. And I know that's all the difference in this giant gap that I can create between myself and the amateurs. And I think that's why a lot of guys reach the pinnacle is because they're trying, or the people that do reach the pinnacle do that because of the amount of effort they put in on those fundamentals. They're trying to separate themselves.
Yeah, sometimes even unintentionally. It just happens. For somebody like myself that was the only option for me. I needed things to be simple, and so I just practiced the basics. Every time I went in, I didn't have to think about much. I just followed the same process. And I would ask people, because I'm always curious, like, did it sound scripted? Because honestly, I did it the same way the last 55 times.
Yeah.
Like, I don't miss one joke. I don't miss one opportunity to point out the same pain points. If you record me, I do it the same exact way every single time. And I just followed the basics, the fundamentals. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I did early on, I may not even be here today having this conversation with you guys had I not condensed time and done a ton of activity in a short period of time, because I would have never made money. Like, if I didn't do all of that work inside a period of 2 months before I ever made money, it probably would have taken me 6 months to make money. And then I definitely would have been able to convince my wife to keep going. Mm-hmm. But 2 months, it's a pretty good salesperson. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I convinced her that being broke for 2 months in preparation for a lifetime of progress because of getting good at sales was worth it. I'm not so sure I could have done it in 6 months, but it was because I went out and I ran over a period of 6 weeks. I ran 27 appointments that I'd set myself. But if I had done 27 appointments in 6 months, I probably wouldn't have made it past 2 months. So that's the other key. The thing I brought up in training the other day is I know a couple guys that are very talented that I was talking to earlier in the room right here. And I'm looking at numbers. I'm like, what the heck are these guys even doing? They got a part-time job doing something else because they're not putting up very consistent numbers or very many numbers. Mm-hmm. And what they don't get is they're shooting themselves in the foot and they're elongating the time that it's going to take them to start seeing success because they're just stretching out what they could have done. Like the amount of work that they're doing in 6 months, they could have done in 2 months.
Yeah, I think a couple things that happen there. One is a lot of times they're trying to think of a better way, more efficient way, an effective way, right? Oh, how can I do this more efficient or effective? Which is not – I'm glad I'm not that smart. I'll just admit it right now. I'm just going to go do the activity and do the work.
Yeah. You don't have to admit that, bro.
You already know. But it suited me very well because I rarely tried to correct what I already – like you said, you learned the scripts and you learned your information and you just did the same thing over and over and then you just applied it. And I'm not saying you shouldn't think. I'm not saying you shouldn't think in business, but I think you should go establish yourself with the higher activity and go get the results. Then as you start getting the results, then you might be able to tweak a few things. Mm-hmm. But then usually what happens is you go, I don't want to tweak a few things because what I'm doing is actually working. So I think that's one thing that happens. And then the other thing I was thinking of was, oh, man, I lost it. So one was overthinking, not taking action. And the other one was... Oh, I lost it. It was good,
well,
too.
I do know. I think this is where routines. I know one of the popular things in society today are morning routines. And, they set your day up for success. And really, I think routines in anything are what set you up for success. You go back to sports, you look at a lot of these guys. If it's basketball, they have this routine about how they're going to shoot free throws or how they warm up. But I think the same thing is in sales. What is your routine? What do you do before you get to the kitchen table? What do you do while you're at the kitchen table? And do you have a routine that you run through? And you just said that. And I actually think there's a lot of brilliance in it. I know I make a joke about you, but I know you're smart, right? You're smart enough to know that you don't have to there's a difference between learning some new fancy gadget or piece of information, smart enough to know that isn't the thing that's going to cause somebody to make a decision or not. It's how can I master these fundamental basics? So then when somebody does have an objection, I can get right back into where I was at and I can keep moving forward. And I think that's the power about a routine. And, as you're talking about learning these fundamentals and doing those certain amount of appointments inside of a short amount of time, is when you master a routine, then it gets more clear. Like I always say, when's the best time to close a sale? Right after you closed a sale. When's the best time to recruit someone? Right after you recruited someone. And not because you're getting another result, but because you're going through the process again in a short amount of time. So you're sharper, you're clear. If we try to recall a moment or something that happened last week versus something that happened yesterday, when are we going to be able to describe it better? The one that was yesterday.
Yep.
So it's the same thing with a close across the kitchen table. If we have a routine and we do it the same way every single time, there's a reason why morning routines are popular in society today. It's real. If you have a good routine, you're probably going to set yourself up for success. It's no different than across the kitchen table. So I would encourage anybody who's listening to this, if they're in sales, to have a routine, and that's that fundamental process that somebody has taught. And then once you get so dang good at that, if there's something you want to adjust or you think can help your process get better, fine, do that. But just like you said, I feel like most people that really master a routine, they master this presentation, they master what they're supposed to say, they get really, really good at it, they start getting results. And they start getting results, it's like, why would I change?
That reminds me. I got the second point.
All right.
Can we rewind?
Let's go.
They expect to get better results than what the numbers say they should get. They expect to beat the numbers.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should ever expect to beat the numbers, and you should go work the numbers.
Just know the numbers and work them.
Yep. And what will probably happen is you'll probably end up beating the numbers if that's your attitude. That's what I found. Because you don't expect to beat them, and so you relieve the pressure. And I think when you have pressure to try to hit numbers, you're less effective.
Yeah.
But when you go, I'm just going to go work the numbers, my experience has been I usually do beat the numbers if I accept that I'm not going to expect to beat the numbers. And I think that happens a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason that happens a lot of time is because you're willing to do the work and then you do it in a short amount of time versus, you talked about doing those 27 appointments in 6 months versus 6 weeks. And the difference is astronomical of doing it in 6 weeks versus 6 months because of the condensed time frame. And what happens is, I think, is you get less you're able to become more and picky's not the right word, but selective about the kind of appointments you're going to run. One thing I heard you talking about, these dudes running one-legged appointments out here today. Like, shouldn't be running a one-legged appointment. I'm not going to run a one-legged appointment. I would rather go spend that time getting a new appointment than waste my time with someone who I know what the objection is going to be at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I need to talk to my spouse. Like, that's the objection 90% of the time. I want to put the odds in my favor. So rather than wasting my time running this appointment, I'm going to go use that time and set one that is qualified. And so I think by doing that and condensing that time frame, you're able to master your skills. You're able to reflect back on good situations that happened. You're able to remember how to overcome objections because you've got that experience. But then also you become more selective about the appointments you run. And I think that's why you beat the numbers, because you have so much activity. It's like, hey, if I only have 3 slots to be able to run appointments today, but there's 7 appointments because I worked the numbers, then I'm just taking the 3 best. Where if you stretch it out over 6 months to run those 7 appointments, you just run all 7 and your odds are totally different. And I think that's the power of doing it in a condensed time frame, that people who don't have a very, very strong work ethic, or they're so smart they're trying to find a better way, they never have the blessing of learning that lesson. which is great things happen and explosions happen because of heat in a condensed time frame. I always use the example of, a bullet. You take the pressure of all of that inside of a condensed space, and that's what causes an explosion. The same thing happens in business. You take the same amount of activity and do it in 1 week or stretch it out to 1 month. It's the same exact activity, could be the same appointments, but if you do it in 1 month, you get half the results. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, there's so many things that go into that. You just got a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
When you show up on appointments and you got momentum and you got confidence,
Yep.
and you've just closed the deal, it's totally different. Like, it could be the very best appointment. They were just talking about windows over breakfast. They already met with a company. It's twice as much as we are. But because of the difference in your demeanor and that sales breath you're taking with you on that next appointment, because you have no momentum, you may have blown it for yourself before you even realized what had happened.
Yep.
Because of how you showed up and your lack of momentum. And that's one of the responsibilities that we have as leaders, is to set the proper expectations. Like, this isn't like a la la land, rainbows and butterflies, Instagram freaking reality here, guys.
Yeah.
We got to get serious. This is what it takes. You can't expect results for work you didn't put in. It doesn't work like that.
No.
Like, you can't just, this isn't like start up an online business and all of a sudden you're making $10,000 a month, bro. It don't work like that.
Trying to sell a course.
Yeah.
Except for JKR, it actually does happen that way quite a bit, actually. We have a lot of people actually make $10,000. But anyway, I know what you're saying.
But it's so interesting to hear these young kids talk about, like, well, my real goal is to be working from anywhere in the world from my laptop on the beach. It's like, that's the same thing the last fucking dudes told me.
Yeah.
Let's, like, tune into reality here. Do you have a way that you can do that? You believe that fucking guy on the internet that told you can have within 30 days be making $10,000, be working on the beach?
Yeah.
If that was the case, everybody be doing it.
Yep.
This is a vehicle. It's a proven vehicle. And if it's not here, find something else that is proven.
Yeah.
With a system and duplicatable results and great leadership that you can plug into, and you're going to have to put in the work. There's no getting around it.
Yeah. No, I mean, there definitely is no shortcut there ain't no hack for putting in the work. Let's put it that way. You're going to have to put in the work. You're going to have to work the numbers. Through working the numbers gives you better experience. Through better experience allows you to show up better. It allows you to not need the next appointment but want the next appointment. And I always love that. One of the things I was talking to someone about the other day is overbooking. And they were so nervous about canceling an appointment. And I'm like, dude, if there's going to be a cancellation happen, I want to be the one choosing that we cancel it, not the customer.
That's a good problem to have.
I asked them, I said, how many times in your career have you ever had to call the customer and cancel an appointment? They go, never.
That's
I go,
a problem.
That's your problem.
Yeah.
I go, if you really want to get big, then you've got to end up in that situation where you have too many appointments and you got to call the customer and say, look, John and Mary, I'm sorry, we can't get to you. I go, do you know how serious they take you at that point? Because every other time you've been begging for a sale. Now you're telling the customer, listen, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Imagine being in that position. So when you show up to an appointment, it's not, hey, can I run this appointment? It's like, I'm going to run this appointment, but I got 4 others after this. So say yes or say no, but I just need to know. I'm here to help you. If I can help you, I'll push the next one back, or if it's going to take me too long, I'll send someone else. But if you're not going to say yes, then I got to go. I got another appointment. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to beg, persuade, or convince anybody into letting me solve a problem for them. I'm here for the right reasons. I'm going to help you solve a problem. And if I can solve it, I'm honored to serve, and I'll do everything I can to go above and beyond. Yeah. But if it's not you, I got 3 more.
So what's the solution to lack of appointments? What is the solution to that?
Oh, we all know the solution
there's
in this room.
There's a couple answers, but yeah.
I think building a bigger team, creating more activity. I mean, the reality is in sales, all sales is appointments. How many appointments do you have sit in front of qualified prospects? That's what sales is. And so the way you get more appointments is by 2 things. Number 1 is by you going out and prospecting for more appointments, which in our business is door to door, right? Hitting the doors, getting on the doors. Number 2 is building a team that does the same thing. And you do both of those 2 things, and it's just a matter of time before nobody can compete with you.
Here's what's cool, and this gets me excited. What's my new title? I got demoted from janitor to, what is it called?
You definitely got a demotion.
No, but so I just love you're right, Jeff. The focus of recruiting, and I'm going to say this on here. This is a secret sauce of all this. This solves all your problems. When you focus on recruiting 100% of the time, and you get your recruiting going, it solves everything. Because here's the thing. I was talking to our Boise team this morning, and talking to them about two things. I said, one, your standards have got to raise. Like, we have our swag bags. If you do 200,000 as a coordinator, you're elite, right? 350 as a director, you're elite. And my belief is, if you're full time, you should never let yourself do less than that. That's only 2 cells a week as a coordinator. That's not that much. That's nothing, right? So that was number one. Number two was getting the recruiting going. Ask the question. So how many of you have too many appointments right now? Of course, no hands go up. So what's the solution? The solution is recruiting, but it's a focus thing, and we could do a whole podcast on how to do this. But just real quick, as our podcast called here, but what I don't see anybody doing yet, two things. One, they're not prospecting on the doors. I was talking to Jeff about this. So if I recruit you, Jefferson, and you have credibility and character, and I say, Jefferson, your first 30, 60 days, I want you in a position to be making 15, 20 grand a month. Here's exactly how we're going to do it. It's a very realistic game plan. Who else do you know that would like to do that as well? And you name 4 or 5 buddies. And I go, how well do you know your buddies? Really well. Could you call them up and have me with me in the next 24 hours? You say, yeah, let's set it up right now. And we go set those appointments. What if you just moved to the area and you don't have anybody like that? Maybe you had a rough background and you're trying to turn your life around, but you're ready to change your life around and you don't have that credibility. Well, I'm not going to write you off. I'm going to say, Jefferson, tell you what, let's get the pitch down. Let's go hit the doors. And if they don't want to be an advertising home for us, tell you what, let's ask them what they do for work and see if they keep their options open. Yep. You're already knocking the doors. Why in the world? It blows my mind. People will go make a sell and get all excited about it, but they'll leave the recruit on the door. And you know what? If you don't recruit them, someone else is going to recruit them.
Yep.
So you're crazy not to be asking every single person that's semi-sharp if they'd be open to an opportunity.
Well,
in
we'll
my
get
opinion.
there. We'll get there.
I've always told everybody, that's fine if you don't recruit them, but eventually we will. We have a system that will recruit them eventually. So if you don't, we will. And I don't know how, I don't know who through, but somebody will recruit them. So you better hurry, because if it ain't you, it will be somebody else. It's not a matter of
how much does it cost you if somebody else recruits your guy or gal?
Could be millions.
Something to keep in mind. There's a sense of urgency there. But see, that's the edge people got to start getting. Like, it would drive me nuts if I was working on somebody and someone else recruited them.
Yeah.
Drive me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, missed out.
Or if you forgot about them.
For the right people, it will drive them crazy.
Yeah.
And it's going to start to change the dynamic around here. Our culture already has shifted over the past 12 months fairly significantly. Like, for some people that were here 12 months ago, they wouldn't even recognize this place, man.
Oh, it's coming, man. It's coming. Yeah, it's a whole new team. It's don't get me wrong. We're excited about where we're going, but we're not even close to where we got to get to. And but we're well on our way, though.
Yeah.
Our trajectory and our focus is like this. So we can say this on a podcast, but most people aren't going to get it. And let's just show them how to do it. We go out and teach them how to do it.
Yep.
And a few people actually start doing it, right?
Yeah. That's where the power starts to happen. And that's what we've seen happen over the past 6 months with, just the efforts that we've put in that have led to a change of behavior in some people.
Yep.
And now it's got a lot of curiosity going on with everybody else. Like, man, this is working really good. That guy lives a great lifestyle. 12 months ago was completely opposite. Like, I'm not sure I want the kind of lifestyle this guy has.
Yep.
It doesn't seem like he does anything else but work his eyeballs out all day long. And we've still got some work to do with these guys. But that's not what this is about. This is an opportunity. And in business, you should be creating an opportunity that's attractive.
Yeah.
If you want to grow a team, you got to have something that's attractive, something that other people are going to want to be a part of.
That they want to be. Yeah, that's what a mentor is, right? Is I would trade my current life for theirs, right? That I would trade shoes with them. And I think, that's what's important about if somebody is leading a group of people, you've got to be able to build it in a way where it's attractive to other people, that they say, man, that's the kind of life I want. And I'll work my face off to get that life. And so you got to be willing to pay the price to get there, but then also you got to do a good job of letting people know that, hey, without in a braggadocious way, hey, this is why it's worth it. These are the rewards for paying the price. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a somewhat challenging thing for leaders, because you've got to be willing to pay the price and work. And a lot of times leaders just do it. It's like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do. Work hard. Like, so what? I'm not really talking about it. But you got to let people know you're working hard. They got to see it. But then on the other side, they have to see the rewards too. So, if 6 months from now, 12 months from now, I know sometimes people are hesitant to talk about what they're making, but that's the reward. That's what people want. You might do something different with the money than they would, but there's a lot of people that are going, man, these guys are making how much? Man, I want to make that kind of money. And then they go, well, what would you do with it? Okay, well, this is what he did. This, and this to get there. 6 months ago, he started. Now he's making $80,000 a month. 6 months later, what would you do with $80,000 a month and living the life? They go, if I could do that in 6 months, whatever I got to do, I'll do whatever I got to do. And that's why it's important for a leader, for them to kind of talk about some of the results they're getting, as well as talk about the price they paid to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to just look back on when I started my career in financial services, what my mindset was. And I think a lot of it was I wasn't learning it so I could get good at it. I was learning it so I could teach others. Mm-hmm. And there's a big difference.
Huge.
And I think a lot of people are learning it for them to get good at it. And that's where most people stay, because they're not thinking about a room full of people that they're, I guess,
inspiring.
They got a stewardship over, so to speak, because they invited them to be a part of their opportunity. And you should be a good steward of people that you invite into your opportunity. Now you've got the responsibility isn't just about you anymore. Mm-hmm. Just like when, before you have kids, before you're married, then you get married, and you got your spouse to take care of. Then you have kids, and you've got this stewardship opportunity, and you have an opportunity there where hopefully you level up because it's not about you anymore.
Yeah, you realize once you have kids, you realize how selfish you really are. Then you have kids, and you're like, oh, I had no idea how selfish I was.
I saw a meme the other day said my wife and I decided we don't want kids. We're going to tell them tonight. Because some days you're like, man, this is a lot, right?
Yeah.
This is a lot. But you love your kids, but some days, it's funny.
Because your entire life becomes consumed about what's best for them.
For sure.
Even you wake up in the middle of the night, you're thinking about your kids. And yeah, I do think your perspective on that is valuable, because I think in order to have success, in order to gain people's trust, in order for people to really want to follow you and know that you have their best intentions, you have to be that way about your people. I was just having a conversation with one of our teammates out here. It's like, we care. And I said, listen, it's not that I love you the same way I love my kids, but I want you to know I love you like my family. And I care about your outcome. I care about your physical well-being, your financial well-being. I want this to be a place where you show up and you're excited to get here and that it makes you better. Now, is it always going to be easy? No, just like having kids isn't always easy, right? In fact, it's more challenging than easy, I think. But I also think that's why it's so rewarding, And so I would encourage anybody who decides to lead a team that they don't go, oh, it's too tough, I don't want to do it. It's realizing that anything that is really hard is also really rewarding. And that's the mistake most people, they never get to see the other side of that. Like, dang, man, I get to see the fruits of your labor were not you making a lot of money or you having a great life, but more importantly, watching somebody else have a great life and change their life because you were willing to pay the price. Mm-hmm. And the reward of that is something that you'll never know until you get there and realize, like, dang, this is another level. And I actually think this is why sometimes you see people and you go, man, they're freaking obsessed. I know early on in my carear, I said this the other day, they talk about loving it. I'm like, you love this? I hate this shit. Like being across the kitchen table every night, prospecting, like dealing with all these challenges, I hated it. But that's because I was going through it. And then once I got through it to the other side and then I started helping people win and my people were winning, I'm like, I get it. This is what it's about. It's about them winning. I just had to go through that so I could help them get to it. It's worth it.
There's never any, like, you can never get a taste of that unless you're willing to put in the work and overcome the challenges and put yourself through hell.
For long enough, too.
For long enough to get good. There's this special moment that happens in your sales and leadership career. And as we circle back on emotional intelligence, EQ, to close more sales, like there's a pretty cool feeling to get to a point where You've got this predictability in your process, and there's this intuition that you've built in from all of these repetitions. And like the instinct that you now have with your customers. It feels pretty good.
Yep.
It does.
But there is nothing better, in my opinion. It's where my passion, my fulfillment comes from in business, what keeps me coming back for more. Because I didn't enjoy knocking doors all that much. I did it, and I would never tell anybody I didn't enjoy it because I was trying to recruit people to come help me do it.
You make it fun. You have a good attitude about it.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
That's what leadership is.
Right.
Like, I'll never show you how freaking stressed out and how much anxiety I have in my day-to-day life.
Sure.
I got to make this shit look easy for everybody.
Yeah.
But in business, there's this transition that happens, this new awareness where it's like, okay, now I realize that all of that work was necessary for me to get to this place, to now have influence and to be able to speak from a place of confidence that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. I just did a short post on this with Ty the other day. And you see a lot of people that, like, it's pretty effing obvious when they're talking about things that they have no idea about, they have very little experience in. And it's obvious when you're in front of your team talking about stuff that you haven't ever done or you wouldn't be willing to do or you hadn't lived that experience before.
Mm-hmm.
The bullshit meter's going off. I don't know. At least it is for me. I've seen a couple of guys speak before, and it's like, oh, dude, I don't think you're going to make it. I just don't think you're going to make it. I know I'm not the only one feeling like this in this room.
Sometimes it's helpful to tell somebody that because they're like, I'll prove you wrong.
I'll show you.
Sometimes.
Maybe.
I know we might hear that on the next call.
If somebody – I've told some guys in our team before.
Sure.
I've
told people that all the time. Absolutely.
I told Shelly that the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to see how serious this lady is.
Yeah.
I was like, Shelly, I'm not sure you're cut out for all the work that's involved in doing that.
Yep.
She got really upset with me.
Yeah.
But that's what it's about. I'm doing it from experience, challenging people, helping either people go to the next level or, like, you got to reevaluate.
Mm-hmm.
You got to reevaluate. You're over-communicating and over-committing when you have no intentions of actually doing the work.
Yep.
But it's a cool responsibility of leadership to get to a point where you have that type of experience, the confidence, the ability to see somebody's path and where they could go, and the seeds that you can plant along the way to help them get to the next level, to set proper expectations about the work, about the price that you're going to have to pay, and about some of those feelings. Like, it's not all about just dealing with the pain and work harder and hustle more. There's a certain amount of that you got to do, but it's with a purpose. There's something on the other side, and this is kind of what it feels like if you're willing to pay that price.
That's where the emotional intelligence of people come in, right? Not just sales, but retaining people and challenging people. Jeff knows that. We used to do the same thing all the time in our meetings. Hey, 12 months from now, 98% of you ain't going to be there. You're going to pansy out, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody, you can do it, you can do it. That's the worst thing you do with somebody.
Say most of y'all are going to quit. Don't worry, we're still going to be talking about you. We're just going to be talking about you quitting instead of talking about you doing it. One of two ways. We're still talking about you. Either you're going to win or you're going to quit. Either way, we're going to talk about you. It's up to you. You choose the message. Yes. Yeah. It just builds. I think all the price you pay just builds the strength to be able to handle the responsibility. And that's what it is, because, you start winning, and there's responsibility. There's expectations on you as you win. And most people use it as a fear, like, oh, my gosh, what if I fall? What if I let up? What if – well, you're only feeling like that because you're not strong enough. Once you're strong enough, it's like, oh, this is easy. I can lift this. But you only can lift that because you've got the experience. You've gone through the reps. You've put in the time. And then eventually it's just like, this is light. This is light work. And everybody else looks at it like it's heavy. Yeah. Just talking to Adam about there, he said, dude, he squatted 225 pounds 225 times in like 40 minutes.
Straight?
Yeah. You know that? I'm like, dude, I don't know if I could squat 225 times in like 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
In a month.
Let alone 40 minutes. He's like, oh, you could do it. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
That's a lot.
Dude. And then I looked over at Braxton. I said, Braxton, think you can squat 225? And he was like, no way, dude. No way. But think about Braxton thinking about squatting 225 and hearing a guy like Adam going, I did it 225 times in 40 minutes. And here I am going, Wonder how long it would take me to work my way up to 225, 225 times. Because I know I can do 225. You know, I don't know how many times before I stop, but I don't think I could do it in a day, 225 times. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But now I got a new challenge. Now I'm like, maybe I should start working towards this, you know. But if I thought about myself when I first started my journey in fitness, like there's no way I could have even imagined squatting 225, let alone doing it 225 times. I think success is the same way. Leading a team, leading a group of people, it seems like a lot at the beginning. It seems like putting in all these reps, putting in all these doors, training people, dealing with the emotional responsibility of all these people. It seems like a lot. But as you do it, you become stronger. And then you start having the ability to deal with more challenges. And it becomes like, oh, this is easy. I was built for it. I got strong. I think that's why you pay the price.
And it's worth it.
Yeah.
And it seems that on almost every single podcast, we somehow manage to land on leadership.
Yeah.
And I think we do. As we wrap up here, there's a reason why it happens, because it's important to us. And we've seen the impact that leadership, if chosen as a path, impacts people's lives.
Yep.
And you can be a salesman. You can make great money. We know a lot of people that do, and they don't make much of an impact anywhere else, and they don't have any intentions to. But there's a reason we do this podcast, and it's not just to get on the podcast and talk and hear ourselves.
Right.
It's because at least for me, I want to help people.
Yeah.
I want to get my message out. I feel like I have an obligation and a duty and a responsibility to share that I was not always like this.
Right.
And that the only reason I am is because I was intentional. I put in the work, and I developed good habits where there once was bad habits. And I developed discipline where there once was very little discipline.
Right.
And it's possible for anybody to do it. And you get started in sales, and that's not the end-all, be-all. And we encourage everybody because we know what it creates as far as future and legacy to make that your stepping stone towards leadership. And emotional intelligence, that's one of the things I pride myself in, as being an emotionally intelligent leader and knowing when a conversation needs to happen and having the guts to have it.
Yeah.
And doing it the right way, with the right intentions, having thought through the process of what my outcome is intended to be, and then making sure that I do my best to produce a good outcome.
Yeah.
But if you're not an emotionally intelligent person, or if you're hearing EQ for the first time, well, I suggest you take it seriously. Look into it. It's going to make an impact in all areas of your life, in your sales, in your negotiations, in your leadership, in your relationships. Emotional intelligence versus IQ, which is, tell me again?
Intelligence quotient.
The intelligence quotient.
Hey, I'm 32 years old. Let's prove you guys this real quick.
32?
Yeah, look at this. I'll show you.
32.
32.9.
He just programmed this gadget on his wrist.
And I'm hearing this for the first time. So if you're younger than me, it's okay. I'm 32.9 according to my whoop. See that?
That is a complete.
But he's only 13 compared to his mental jokes.
Yeah, true. Maturity level, I'm about maybe 14.
That's what it's doing. It's averaging out your mental capacity and your actual age.
Hey, I don't know.
That is, I'll bet it's exactly 32. I'm going to do some math.
32.9.
13 plus 50 divided by 2.
That's so funny.
That's damn near 32. I got it right. That was just a guess, though. But listen, hey, if
it's 30, well, pretty close.
So I'm a little.
So it's
I'm
15.
probably like 15.
15. Yeah,
that's fair. I can accept that.
Hey, dude, you set yourself up for that one.
You know, I did do that DEXA scan recently, and it told me that I was 2 years younger than I actually am based off of my body composition.
It's always good news.
Okay.
Pretty good.
My wife, she was 42, so I'm married to a cougar.
Oh, I was wondering where this was going to go.
Just so
we
you
better
guys
leave
know.
Lexi out of this.
And you know what? It also told me that I've got 1 extra pound of muscle in my right leg than I do in my left leg. So I must have had a certain placement going on that day that was picking up.
Yeah, we better wrap this podcast up before it gets out of control.
Yes. Thank you for sticking around to the end. Usually we have the best stuff for last. So make sure next time, if you're plugging into a Just Real Quick podcast, you plan on staying for at least 45 minutes because all the best stuff happens last. And if you like the message today and know somebody who could benefit from this, copy that link, shoot it to them in a text. Say, boom, you got to listen to this. It's incredible. It's called the Just Real Quick podcast. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Keep checking in for more insights and strategies on leadership and sales and all things JKR Windows. We'll see you guys next time.